Hi, welcome to this video on the technology of the week, in which we will focus on electronic markets and auctions. More specifically, we will take a close look at the industry of selling second-hand cars and the way this industry has been disrupted over the past decades due to the rise of digital technologies. First, an electronic market is a platform where buyers and sellers are connected through modern communication networks, such as the internet. This allows participants to perform transactions without being in the same physical place, as is the case with traditional offline markets. An important characteristic of electronic markets is that prices are fixed. In contrast to this, auctions allow sellers to set only a minimum price and let buyers place bids on the good within a limited period of time. Clearly, the dynamics of buying and selling are very different between the two. Now, let's take a closer look at second-hand car auctions. According to the National Auto Auction Association, this is a $100 billion industry with almost 18 million cars auctioned last year in the US alone. Car auctions in the offline world were and are still performed in various ways. The most common form of offline auctioning is the so-called hammer auction. Using this method, cars are auctioned one by one and customers are able to place bids on it, thereby outbidding each other. In the end, the highest bidder wins the auction and takes home the car. A second way of auctioning cars is the tender auction, also called silent auction. Customers can place bids on a car but do not have any information about the bids of others that are trying to win the same auction. This lack of transparency forces bidders to estimate very carefully what bid they should put in, as they cannot bid multiple times. As with the hammer auction, the car is taken home by the highest bidder. These offline forms of auctioning are now being taken online, but with the rise of online auctioning, new formats have been developed as well. Auto Auction Mall is a fine example of a new common practice. On this website, a bidder is able to place a bid on a car or can choose to instantly buy the car for a fixed price. For bidders, this form of auctioning means they do not have to be in a certain place on a certain time, because instead the auction takes several days and bids can be placed from anywhere with access to the internet. However, as soon as one of the buyers opts for the buy it now option, the auction ends immediately. For sellers, this form of auctioning means they are able to set the minimum price they are willing to sell the car for, as well as a fixed price they would wish to receive in the best case scenario. As becomes clear, this way of online auctioning mixes the characteristics of electronic markets and traditional auctions. The dynamics of second-hand cars auctioning have changed due to the rise of the internet. New online forms of auctioning have replaced the traditional offline way of auctioning cars, thereby disrupting the industry and changing the economic landscape. Let us take a detailed look at how the fundamental elements of the industry have been affected using Michael Porter's 5 forces model. The first force of Porter's framework is competitive rivalry, which focuses on the intensity of the rivalry between existing competitors in the industry. If we consider the offline car auctioning market, it was hard for bidders to attend various auctions in different places due to geographical dispersion. Therefore, the competitive rivalry was rather low between auction events. However, the introduction of the internet meant that geographical borders vanished and it became easier for bidders to attend or choose between multiple auctions. Hence, competitive rivalry has become more intense. Second up is the bargaining power of buyers, which refers to the pressure that consumers can exert on sellers. As mentioned earlier, nowadays you can find more and more car auction events online. Customers have more platforms and cars to choose from and can easily switch between sellers with a few mouse clicks. As there is no extensive traveling involved in switching sellers, switching costs have dropped dramatically. As a result, the power of buyers increased. The third force is the bargaining power of suppliers, which addresses the pressure that suppliers can exert on sellers. Looking at the car auction industry, suppliers are the people that are willing to list their second-hand car up for auction. With the rise of the internet, suppliers are no longer limited to selling their car to the local auctioneer. However, the auctioneer is not limited to local suppliers either. Differentiation between second-hand cars is relatively low, and now customers can easily compare thousands of cars on the web. Therefore, the power of suppliers has ultimately decreased. The threat of substitutes describes the availability of different goods that can solve the same economic need, in our case the selling and buying of second-hand cars. Auctioneers took many formats online, but in addition to that, the internet has made it easier for suppliers to be directly linked to potential buyers. It has become possible for them to bypass auctioneers in order to directly negotiate with buyers and sell the car. Therefore, the threat of substitutes increased. Finally, the threat of new entry revolves around the ability of new firms to enter the industry and is closely linked to barriers of entry. Online auctioning has decreased these barriers as the internet made it easier and less costly to connect buyers and suppliers, as a physical auction house at a popular site is no longer needed. Instead, remote warehouses and IT infrastructure do the job perfectly fine. However, it will still be hard for new entrants to build up a proper reputation. Therefore, the threat of new entry has increased from low to medium. To sum up, 4 out of the 5 forces of Porter's framework have increased due to the rise of the internet. This has led to a decrease in the attractiveness of the industry, which is thus caused by the disruption of digital technologies that change the business models of second-hand car auctioneers. Although the rise of the internet made it easier for the involved parties in the auction industry to connect with each other, it also stimulated consumer uncertainty, which is an information asymmetry problem. In order to explain this, we will take a look at the market for lemons. In this market there are the lemons, representing bad quality cars, and peaches, representing good quality cars. Only the seller has all information about the condition of the car at hand, while the buyer has limited information. This information asymmetry causes the buyer's willingness to pay to be equal to the price of an average quality car. However, sellers of peaches won't sell for this price as their product is worth more due to the high quality, and thus they exit the market. This is also known as adverse selection, and as a result the market collapses over time. In order to avoid this problem, inspections and warranties are given out to buyers at the moment, but we believe the future holds a far better solution. Since the internet has vanished geographical borders, it has in turn also diminished the opportunity to get a real impression of the look and feel of the car, like in the old days. While pictures and videos of the car can be made accessible to potential buyers, it still is not the same. However, we envision this problem to be close to fully solved in the future through the use of augmented reality. This allows for the integration of digital information with the user's environment in real time. It would make it possible for buyers to fully inspect second-hand cars from home. They can virtually walk around the car, take a look inside, and even place it in their own garage. If the customer approves the car and wins the auction, the product could be delivered to his house by the seller. This would mean that the entire process of buying a second-hand car on auction does not require you to leave your house at all, shaking up the business models of the industry once again. The use of augmented reality would make the selling process of auctioneers more expensive, as software needs to be developed and maintained in order to provide the additional service. In case this becomes a new industry standard, it could slightly raise the barriers of entry to the industry as well. Right, this is the end of the video. We hope that you gained some valuable insights into the disruption of the car auction industry. Thank you very much for watching.